Hi, and welcome to the Millennial Wives Podcast. We are so glad to have you. This is our first episode, and we're looking forward to many to come. And we wanted to just tell you a little bit about ourselves, get to know you, and just give you an overview of what we're going to be bringing to support and to collaborate with the Millennial Wives around the world. This is my co-host, Miss Jessica Rabbit,
Hello.
and I am Ari Nicole. And we are going to start today off with a question about millennial wives, that something that we deal with every day on a day-to-day basis. And I wanted to ask you, Jessica Rabbit, what's something that you deal with as a wife that you think is like a peer pressure that we have to face as wives in our community, our millennial group?
Well, being a wife that's home, I am a stay-at-home wife, so that is not the norm anymore. So I get a lot of backlash from that. Oh, don't you want to have your own money? Don't you want to be out in the work field and things like that? So I think people look at it as the easy way out, or they think, oh, you're home, so you can do this or you can do that. You can do, like I don't have my own set schedule. I have people, oh, can you babysit for me? Can you do this? Can you do that? And I'm like, um, I still got my kids and stuff, but you know, things like that. I guess they think. I think they think we're home. Like, what was her name on that show? Ted Bundy's wife. Like, you sitting at home eating bonbons all day. Like, you're not really doing stuff. So, what about you? What do people come?
I've seen both sides of the coin. Like when I was a stay-at-home mom, when my son was younger, the Housewives franchise just came out, and something I always dealt with was like, oh, y'all must have money because you can stay at home. Especially since a lot of women in the Black community, they don't get that opportunity, and so it's like a stigma that you got to get over, because a lot of women think, I don't know about you, but the older women in my family always said like, oh, you got to have your own, you can't like just depend on your husband and be submissive, you got to really have your own something on the side. It was always like something that they they put in your head from the beginning.
I got. You need to get out there and work. Everybody just can't sit at home and do nothing all day. And it's like, and I'm not sitting at home doing nothing. I
Right.
think some of them didn't have that opportunity. So they feel as if, why do you get to have it if I didn't have it? My mother was a stay at home mother. I saw the benefit of that. I wanted to be a stay at home mother. I found a man that wanted to have a stay at home mother wife for their children. So I knew, okay, this is a person that I need to marry or focus on having a relationship with, because he wants that. I dated other guys that did not. And I was like, all right, well, we're going to leave this right here, because there ain't no need to go further. If I know that you don't want what I want and it's going to be an argument later on down the line once we start having kids, I'm not. But,
Right.
and I did, I mean, I hear you have your own, and, you know, don't get it twisted. Like, I do have my own income coming in, and I do help with the bills. So everything's not on him, so to say. But just working day to day, I have children that have autism. So I can't be out there, and I had some limitations on myself. So I can't go out there and do stuff that a normal person really could do. But that doesn't stop you from trying to be the best wife or mother that, one could be. And I hand it out to y'all that work and come home. To me, I have a harder job, because you have to deal with your 9 to 5, and then you got to come home and still be there for your children and your husband, which to me is way more than a wife that's home.
I think I see it both ways, because like when I was at home, I used to be desperate for the adult attention, and I would be with the kids all day. And I'm like, when my husband got home, I would just be like, okay, now you're gonna give me all your attention. And he's like, no, 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 I've been with people all day, I don't want to talk. And so that was my struggle every day. I was like looking forward to having that connection, and then getting let down, and my kids would be looking for me all day to be kid with them, and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
okay, I want to be an adult now. So that was the thing. And then now it's like I can't turn the adult mode off, so I see how he feels. I'm like, I don't want to play now because I'm tired. So it's just like you got your pros and cons with both.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the struggle with both.
No, you do. You do. You definitely do. I think that's why I think when I have adult conversations, sometimes it's like, oh, am I talking too much? It's the first time I talk to an adult all day. So, it's blah, 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 run my mouth. But I
Yeah.
mean,
And then when you stay at home, you deal with like a whole lot of stuff that, it's like animosity from your friends because they got to work.
yes, yes. I sometimes I have had that issue.
Mhm.
Some friends have said comments and, oh, you don't want to be a career woman. I thought we were going to be the women, up here and corporate and doing that. I was like, well, I have a teaching degree, so I wouldn't be in corporate to begin with.
Right.
I would be teaching, but yeah, that's why I chose teaching. I was like, okay, I can teach, I can have the vacation time with my kids. Our schedules will be parallel because this way I wouldn't have to really deal with after school care, before care, having to worry about somebody helping me pick up the kids and drop them off and things like that. I was trying to incorporate it to maybe I could be in the same school district as them, and then just work at a different school where everything would be, on the up and up. But God didn't have it planned that way. He gave me kids that have disabilities, so my life changed from the time they were about 1.5. Things did not look like the typical life span for kids and stuff. So it's like I had to do things different. They were in school at 3. They started preschool on their 3rd birthday, which was like terrible because they're like 2-year-olds. They're like babies. So they've never been away from me, screaming, hollering when I dropped them off. And so that was like really, really hard. But they love school. And even now, we're going into high school next year. Both of us will have high schoolers.
In a
So,
perfect world, I think if women were to support each other through all these different, like the changes that we go through, I think things would be a whole lot better because I mean, it's aspects of life that I've dealt with that you haven't dealt with, and then there's aspects that you dealt with that I haven't dealt with, but it's just that humbleness that it takes for you to actually help another sister out without feeling like she got something up on you in that area, or you know what I'm saying. It's
yeah.
like it's a lot of ego with that too. You got to deal with it in your relationship, you got to deal with it with your friendships, you got to so
No,
yeah,
yeah.
there's the peer pressure all over, and all that kind of stuff with you dealing with as a wife, as a woman, with your spouse. So it's just it's a constant struggle.
No,
And
it
like
is.
I deal with it too at work as a working woman. It's like some wives can do the work and still do the PTA and still do, and like just do all the stuff. And then if you can't do that, it's like, okay, you falling short, you're not able to do all of that, you're not a good mom. And I'm just saying everything is different for each individual. Just like you said, you never know what anybody's going through. So
Excuse
it's
me.
just all depending on what's going on in your life at the time.
But even with me, people expect me to be, oh, you can volunteer this and you can do that and you can be here. And, you know, my parents,
Yeah.
more so my father, oh, well, you can come and do this and you can come and do that. And I'm like, dude, I got stuff I got to do for myself. Like, I cannot be hitting the highways all day. I'm putting mileage on my car. I need gas. Then when the car needs to be fixed, are you going to be the one fixing it?
Right.
I understand that you have things to do with your parents, but you can't always expect your children to pick up the slack of where you're done doing. You know what I'm saying? And it's I get that too. They look at us stay-at-home moms like, oh well, I would think that you would be more in the community and volunteering, and I was told, oh, you can volunteer at your kid's school and you can do this and do that. I'm like, y'all are not taking into account that I still have to run a house. And yeah, I could do this and do that, but that's not going to take time out for things that I got to do. I have my own appointments I think do. I had to make sure their schedule is done and different things. So people really don't look at it. I've had comments of grown women, super grown women, jealous that I'm home. And they have sabotaged situations all to stay home. And I'm like, whoa, you done lost the whole marriage over you not wanting to work because I don't have to work or cannot work. So why would you do that? And animosity from super grown women. Like, I don't see where it makes sense. Instead of saying, well, I'm glad that you were able the opportunity to stay home.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I look at you like, Dag, she gets her salary, she can do a little bit more, they can do a little bit more than I can, but then it's like, then it's time to say, oh, you're home with your kids. And because I know we always laugh when your kids are sick, you're laying in bed with them and cuddling them, and I'm like, man, when my sick, like, now you stay away from me, I ain't get sick. No, because but we had two different aspects. It's like, this is your time that you can be with them and spoil them. And I guess because I'm there more with them, it's like, I don't see the need unless you really, really need mommy to lay with you, fine. But
Right.
it's but at this one thing I say, you and I really have never done that to each other. And I don't think girlfriends should. We all have different aspects.
I think I can appreciate where you are because I've been there and I spent years there. And when I was there, some of the people that was closest to me shocked the hell out of me because they were like not supportive, or they would
Mm-hmm.
say little comments like, well, your husband deserved this because you at home all day. And I'm like, what you mean? What he deserve? He don't deserve no more than what I
Oh,
deserve because I've been doing a lot too. Oh no, oh no. What can you say? You at home all day. Everything was an issue. So I understand where you are.
yes, I had the whole, oh, make sure your makeup is on, you're dressed nice. No man wants to see a woman come home in a ponytail with spit up on them. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yo, I'm dealing with multiples screaming, hollering. I'm not going to look like a pillow princess when he comes home. It's just not going to happen all the time. Yes, I will try to, look good. I'll make sure the house is cleaned up. I said, yeah, so I can clean up so these little Tasmanian devils can come and run through here and tear it up. I said, it's not in the perfect world. Yes. If I had nannies, yes. I have some people that I know that have nannies. They have 1 and 2 nannies. And I'm like, dang, I wish I had that. And they were stay-at-home moms at the time and they had still had nannies. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was an option. You know, I thought nannies were more so for the women that were working, but I never called them out on it. I never said anything to them about it because
Right.
I'm like, hey, I said, maybe that's a little jealousy of me. But I wish I had me a nanny. If I could have had one, even
No,
still now.
we all like envy each other in certain aspects at
Mhm.
some point, but you gotta accept your lease in life. And it's a reason that you where you are at the time you are. Your kids need you,
Mhm.
and maybe God has some kind of plan. Who knows where you would be if you were working and they had to stay home with somebody else. So
Which is
there's a
true.
reason.
Yes, it's true. Especially my children. Christopher, he can be a handful, and I think somebody, if it wasn't my child, I think there would be times I think somebody probably would have killed them because if you don't know how to handle a child like that, especially when they become violent and it's not your child, they will hurt the child. And so because I have that, I'm like, okay, I know my limitations. I know when to just walk away. I
Right.
had to teach my husband, that he's not a guy on the street. You can't fight your son. You can't be physical with him like that. He's a child still. You will hurt him. He doesn't understand. He's acting out of violence because he doesn't have the words to express. He sees you coming at him raging. He's gonna rage at you. He's like, no, that you go into self-defense mode.
Right.
Kill or be killed. So he's like, you're not gonna hurt me. I'll end up hurting you. So there's a lot of stuff like that. Even with school, I had shared his report card and how good he was doing in his behavior on that chart, and I shared it with some of his old teachers that had him when he was like 3 years old, and they were so excited. And even his behavior, a chart for foul language. And she's like, inappropriate language, but it's language. She's like, okay, yeah, I know it's inappropriate, but it's language. Oh my God, he has language. I'm like, yes, which is good. So, we take the good with the bad, and I guess that's what you have to do with being a wife as well. You take the good with the bad.
Right.
Because nobody's marriage looks the same, and what works for your marriage may not work for mine, and vice versa. And we have people that are, they're poly. They one or more wives or one or more husbands, and
I don't know how they do it.
I don't know either. It's bad enough with one to have.
That's what I was about to say. It's like
one
dealing with one personality is like, woo, that's too much for me.
Yes, especially because these men have split personalities just like these women. I swear they get on their periods just like us. They get attitudes for no reason, and they're nasty, and it's like,
I'm telling you,
what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
And they don't see it. See, at least when we have our mood swings, we're like, okay, it's this time of the month. I'm expecting things to be out of whack. It's like you got to kind of prepare for it. We medicate. We do a little extra treatment. We take a bath. We try to get all mellow. Oh, let me stay out of the way of everybody so I can like maintain my composure because I know I'm on that cycle. No, they just all in your face. They like, what you mean? It's just the macho, the whole testosterone showing.
Yes. It's like you can't do anything. I mean, you say something to them, they're ready to blow up, or you don't know how it is because you don't have to, you don't have this on you. I'm like, well, I'm here too. I know if this doesn't get paid, that doesn't get paid, something's going to happen. I understand. And just if they're not happy at their job, all right, I want to quit. Well, you can't really quit because you quit and then you ain't got nothing backed up, but I'm here for you. Or, they bring a lot of stuff home with them from the work. And I guess, I don't know, as women, we can disconnect easier sometimes and try not to bring like, okay, I'm not going to take this out on him because this has nothing to do with him. So I'm trying to be nicer to him, or try to be.
We just programmed to put our feelings aside sometimes when it comes to the ones we love.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you don't really say or get to say what we really want to say. You hold your tongue. Like I put a bite in my mouth. A bit in my mouth. A bite in my tongue. Like I can't say what I want to say. Please don't let me say too much or too less. But then they go off. They get funny. You know how it is.
I saw something, a meme on social. I think it was yesterday. I'm not sure, but it was on Instagram. It was like a couple. They were maybe in their late 70s. And she said her husband had left work. He just came home and was like, I'm done. I'm done with working. I want to be a pastor. And she just lost it.
I would have lost it too.
But they were like making probably, I think he said $200,000 in the early 90s, which is like really, really good. Yeah. And he just was like, I'm done. So I was just like, oh, this is a good, something. I want to see how you will react. It's so many things we have to go through. I know I would be like, are you serious? But if you got a calling, who are we to just like dismiss it?
No,
that's hard. It's really hard.
if he has a calling, I understand that. But to pastor, it takes a lot. I am a PK. Um, I don't wish that life on anyone. I don't wish it on the wife, the children. You deal with so many different um, personalities. It's sometimes a fakeness. I have to smile when I don't want to smile, be nice when I don't really want to be nice. I want to cuss y'all out. I can't cuss you out. I can't, you get inappropriate with my father. I want to punch you in the face. Like, I really want to punch you in the face. There's been times we've been in meetings, church meetings. I'm like, you got one more time to be ignorant.
Right.
He's a pastor, not me. Then you have the women that are in their face. My father, when my father first became a pastor, he was about my age now, 18 years ago, right? So 18 years ago, I was, 2021. So he was 42. So yeah, if I was like 20, he was like 42. So he was getting I love you cups, bears, notes. My mother tried to fight the woman in the pastor's study. Because she was like, my mother was my age now. She was 30. Well, he was 42. She was like, 39, 40. So to deal with that, to deal with the inappropriate stuff, the late night calls, your phone always has to be on. Girl, they had one woman sat in the front of the house for hours and wouldn't leave. And my mother's thinking, well, is she messing with you? What's going on? Oh, I just felt safe because I was in front of my pastor's house. But why? You're causing problems.
They don't think about the wife. It's just when you're a pastor, it's like you married to the church. So it's like your wife and your children have to take a back seat sometimes. And it's up to you to set the standard. If you let it go left, it's hard to get it back on the rails, basically. Because I see it at my church too. I really do. I see it.
It is. And then it's like, I had girls at the church didn't want to really hang with me because they were so afraid. I'm not going to run back and tell my father. Half the stuff, I don't even want him to know what I'm doing. So why am I going to go back and tell your business, girl? Please. I'll be more afraid of y'all saying something. I should have been more afraid of y'all saying something about me than me saying something about y'all.
Right.
So I grew up with that whole not wanting to be friends, or they wanted to be friends, but they really want to invite me to parties and do. I'm like, I'm just like y'all. Like, what's that thing they say? Stars, they're just like us. Yes, PK kids are just like y'all. I want to do this and I want to do that. And even now, as adults, it's like, it's just too much. I feel for this woman. I feel for all preachers' wives. I did not want to be a preacher's wife. My father tried to make me a preacher's wife. I think that's why I went the road that I went. Because I was not.
It's the funny thing about it is a lot of women look at it like, oh, I'm getting a man who's devoted to God. I'm getting this guy who's gonna be. Don't make them faces, girl. I see you. Girl, but a lot of women look at it like they're getting something that they're aspired towards all their lives because they're thinking about the whole, the image, but they're not thinking about the whole picture versus like this image that we have. It's a lot.
I'm not one of them first wives. I would not be a first wife that would want to be in all the woman's auxiliary and this and that. Girl, bye. I'm bad enough. I let God come here on Sunday.
My husband is a deacon, and it's not the same, of course, but I could see how it could get a little bit involved. If you're really dedicated and you go into these people's houses and you're, ministering and you're laying hands and washing feet, like like the Bible says, your mind got to be right. It's got to be really right. And not only your mind, it's like you taking in all of these spirits from these people. So that's another thing.
Oh
that makes it
God.
even harder. And it's like it's hard enough to be a wife and a husband as a without being that. Then you got added pressure. Added
Oh,
pressure. That's going back to the first topic. It's pressure on all fronts when you being, as a wife in any career, anything like that. It's going to add pressure. And like I've talked to my husband yesterday about it. I was like, it don't matter what career you pick. If it pays good, there's going to be some kind of trade-off to your marriage. Like your wife is going to be at a loss in some area, and if if the wife is the person who has the strenuous career, then it's going to be like, oh, okay, he going to have to lose a side of you. So it's like, what do? I mean, you want your spouse to move up the ladder, but then you got to think about all of the things that come with it that you're going to have to face in the meantime. And so marriage is hard. That's all I can say.
it's not for the weak. I mean, depending on what type of marriage you want to have, you can have a
Hmm.
marriage that you're just married for the sake of saying you're married,
Right.
or you can have a marriage that's really, no marriage is going to be 50-50, but like everyone does their due diligence in the marriage, or you have one that somebody does everything and somebody just riding on the coattails of it.
Mhm.
And it is hard because you're stuck with that person forever. And then to add children into that means no matter what, if you divorce, then you still have to deal with that person
Right.
if you have children. And then you have grandchildren. And if you blessed to see great grandchildren. Or even raising children with different backgrounds. So you want to do it this way and he wants to do it that way. Like my husband and I were talking about that. I got a call from the school. My youngest was acting up. She cut class. She said, no, I wasn't cutting class. I asked the one teacher, can I go to the other teacher's room? And then in the middle of it, I decided I want to go to another teacher's room. I said, well, you're not being accountable. So they saw us cutting class. You were going to Miss McCoy's class, but did she catch you and now you had to go to Miss McCoy's class, or were you really on your way there? So I said, well, what we're going to do is I don't think we should punish her because maybe she did not know she wasn't able to just change her mind. Because now we're talking about a child that has a disability that may not know that you can't just in the middle of get an idea and just say, oh, I can do this now. So we have to let her know right and wrong. Now you do it again. Now that you know this is wrong, you do it again. Yes. So when the vice principal called me and they did the same thing, no detention. This is your warning. Take heed to the warning. You do it again, you get detention. So I said, okay. So I wasn't wrong in my thinking because the school said they had agreed with me. And they didn't even know I said that at home. So he was like, I'm not going to stand against you in front of the kids, but I'm not always going to agree with you. I said, I understand that. And I said, well, you don't have the background that I have in education to know how some things should be done. You're going old school. You want to take everything away. I said, but how much stuff did your parents take away of you? How much spankings did you get? And you just went ahead and did the same thing again. I said, sometimes kids don't even know why they're getting beat. They're like, well, what's this punishment for? What did I do wrong? Man, you can't even give me another chance. So I'm trying to do things a little bit differently. He says I'm too lenient,
Yeah.
but
We don't have any kind of like guidebook. So we
no,
just have to like use our spirit and to guide us the right way.
no,
And it's going more.
I agree with you with that because I'm like, my birthday is in July. My father would something would happen in April. See, you lost your sweet 16. I'm like, it's April. My birthday in July. Like, why I did what I did in April got to do with July? Or
Mm-hmm.
was it you just ain't have money for it?
Right.
So you want to take this opportunity to say no. And I mean, I just, I hope I'm not setting my kids up for failure, but I teach them how, um, like if they got caught with the cops, you get pulled over. Sometimes they give you a warning. Say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna give you this warning next time. It's a ticket. Or if they get in trouble, like, okay, well, this person did this to you, and you waited 20 minutes, so that's considered, um, what is it?
Premeditated.
Premeditated. That was premeditated. So you thought, so if you were in this happened as an adult, you would now have to go to jail or go
Right.
to trial because it's premeditated. So I'm trying to show them how to relate this to the real world. So it's just not, I'm just getting in trouble. I want them to know real world situations so that if they get into anything like that later on in life, they can go, oh crap, I remember mom said this. I remember mommy said this. Okay. Now they know how to really navigate instead of just putting a kid in on punishment. Just really doesn't, to me, doesn't resonate. People going to people, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And like
It's
you told
cause
me,
and effect.
yes, and like you told me, your husband said you major in minors. I don't want to be majoring in minors right now. You cutting, you trying to go to a different classroom. Really, it's not that major. You didn't leave the school. You wasn't caught in the sterile world, kissing a boy. You know what I'm saying, or getting felt up, or anything like that. So I'm taking what could have happened. That could have been worse than punishing her for a little thing like that. You know, and then two, she told me the truth. I don't want to punish her for telling me the truth because then the kid's gonna be like, well, I got in trouble for telling the truth. I'm gonna get in trouble for lying. So might as well just lie.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard out here being a mother. God.
I mean, I look at the same thing you said. My biggest struggle with parenting and the pressure with parenting is just trying to figure out the timing. Like if they do something, I feel like I have to be swift because they
Mm-hmm.
won't get the whole purpose of the punishment or whatever or the lesson. And sometimes I struggle with like, okay, if I don't do something right now, then are they going to get it, or are they going to remember what they actually did if I wait a day and try to figure out what the right thing, the right course of action is? Because it's in the moment. You in the moment, they doing stuff constantly, they're doing stuff, and you want to react appropriately, but sometimes your emotions will take over and you'll say the wrong thing, and I have to kind of like give myself grace because I'm like, there's no way you're going to know the right thing at all times, and when you're not going through something, you just have to reflect and like, okay, did I do that right?
Mm-hmm.
Did I make the right choice? Maybe next time I won't do this. It's just a trial and error. Like you said, it's no way to know what the right thing to do is at all times. You just try to make the best decision. And I really kind of like feel for my mom now that I'm an adult and I'm in a different scenario because she was a single parent. But I just really feel like, oh my God, all those things that she was faced with, would I be able to face that kind of stuff on my own? She didn't have a chance to think about it. She didn't have a chance to go back and make it, do it over. She didn't have nobody else to run the idea back and forth with. So it's kind of like, was I being a little bit too much judgment, too judgmental? And at the time, I thought she was making bad decisions, but who knows what I would have done if I was
Right.
by myself.
You're right. And I think about
So
our kids.
yeah,
But this age, I wasn't that bad. My husband was out doing a lot more than I was. My stuff really didn't come until about say sophomore, junior. That's when I started like going left. So
right.
I look at my kids like, okay, so far so good. You're on a better path than especially their dad. But so when we get to that space where, and I pray some of the stuff that happened with me don't come up with them. But like you said, did our parents make the right decision? Did they say the right wording? Did they say different things? A couple of things that my mom said to me probably my life would have been totally different now. And was it said, was it said for the right way, or it's hard. Like we do judge our parents a lot until you become in that situation. You judge marriage a lot too until you get into that situation, because you really don't know. You don't know what you would go through, what you're going to go through, what you're going to do, what type of husband you've got. I mean, and
Yeah.
we're not the type of women that's going to sit back. Oh, just happy he came home and he's paying the bills, and don't question him where he's going, or, you know, you find a little smell perfume, or maybe he hugged a woman at work, or, a little makeup gets, your makeup gets everywhere. So you could just, he could have just brushed up on a girl and the makeup, it's like, okay, well, I'm just supposed to be like, all right, well, you came home and you paid the bills, and here you go. That stuff, or money missing. Don't ask him where the money. Oh, what surprise money come the other day? He was like, "Oh, I have a stash of money." I'm like, "Stash of money? What do you mean you got a stash of money? Where you get a stash of money from? How you got a stash of money? Where's this money come from?" So it's like, okay,
Yeah, how would you react in the moment? And you judge your parents and other couples, and you just say, like, oh, I would have done this. But in the moment, because that's just like I was saying, it's the timing.
yes, because you think about it. I've seen parents, a child act up out. When I get home, I'm gonna tear you up. This child is 2, 3 years old. By the time they get home, they're not gonna remember what they did wrong. They just see you beating them now. And they're like, why are you beating me? You're so violent. Why? And then you're not, instead of explaining to them in the moment, okay, what you did was wrong. This was unacceptable. You cannot act like that. Plus, you're expecting, and I said this to the school, I said, you are expecting children to act like adults. And they're not adults. These are children. And then you have some children with special needs. So they may not even be there mentally. Mentally, you have, yes, the child physically, and by the ages they have been on this, many times the son is going to earth with them. Yes, they are 13 years old, but mentally they may only be 8, 9 years old, maybe 10. So now you got to bring it back to that level of a second, third grader. Are they really understanding the situation? And even some typical kids, they're not mature. They're maturing slower.
Right.
You got some 13-year-old kids that still acting like they're in 4th, 5th grade because it's just not there yet.
My best, oh God, I keep saying, I just remember one thing that made me think, okay, maybe I'm on the right track. I kind of like look at the conversations that the kids have with their peers. And I see how when they talk about their parents, what they say, and that means a lot to me, because I feel like when we were teenagers, we told a real to our friends about how we felt about our parents. So when I read my conversation, like when I'm snooping in my son's conversations with his friends, I see sometimes he puts my mom said she's gonna buy me a new phone. It's up to what she decides. I don't know what, it's up to her. I'm not sure what she's going to do, kind of thing. I'm like, okay, well, maybe he gets the fact that it's up to me. It's not up to him. And it's my money. Maybe he's getting that. I want him to make I don't want to make rash decisions and him not understand budgeting, timing, that money doesn't grow on trees. I want him to be able to appreciate what he gets, regardless of who it's coming from. And kind of like have gratitude, for the situation, because you just don't know where anybody is in their finances to buy you whatever you want at the time.
No, yes.
So I think he's getting that, and that's a good feeling. And then some of the things he says, like he comes out with, random little utterances of wisdom. And I'm just like, okay, he's getting it. Like we went to dinner, and one day he was like, I'm starting to get how, nothing can happen to me unless God allows it. I'm like, really? Where did that come from? And he's like, I just feel like if I'm doing the right thing, if he allows it, it's some kind of lesson with it. I'm like, okay. So, you just have to, and you get glimpses into the future with their little statements that they make. or with the growth, like you said, with your son's report card, with the growth, with the decisions
Mm-hmm.
that you make, you get glimpses into the future of what your parenting has
Yeah.
seeds you sown, basically.
Yeah.
So
I,
that's a
I,
blessing.
it is. It is. I've seen some of that stuff with the girls, like understanding. Oh, I want a North Face jacket, but I'm like, if you would, I said, look, I have no problem buying one, but
Mhm.
you're still growing.
Right.
Who's to say this time next year that jacket is going to fit you? I said, now if you were in high school, maybe a sophomore, junior, I said maybe even a freshman. I said you're really about the time you're going to really start. That's like where you're really going to be at for the most part. Then I'm like, all right, maybe I can invest in a jacket that you'll get a good 3 years out of instead of one season. Because my youngest one is very materialistic. Oh, you got Nike shoes on, you got Yeezys, you got this, you got that. My oldest one, she's more into the pocketbooks. Shit, she done stole my old Louis Vuitton pocketbook. She's carrying it around. The Gucci one, all my old pocketbooks, I really don't carry no more. The Gucci one, yeah, I got that. But she understands that she's looking at like, okay, I'm gonna take one that's older. You don't have to buy me one. I'll take your stuff that you ain't using no more. My youngest
Right.
one, nah, she wants these sneakers and this sneaker. She's a sneakerhead. So we went to like, the stores that just has the sneakers sitting there on display. Like, I'm like, these sneakers like $200. Girl, where you gonna wear these to? Because she's like, oh, these kids got iPads and Yeezys and um all this stuff for Christmas. Somebody got a new MacBook and da, da, da. And I'm looking at them like, well, can I have that, parents? I can get all that for Christmas. Shoot,
Mhm.
some things I want. Or what was it? The one little girl when I was teaching, Tooth Fairy gave me $20. I said, well, I got about how many teeth fell out? I got about a couple teeth I need to talk to your Tooth Fairy about because $20. I think the most I got was maybe 5 or 10 but it was by mistake. My mom had put the wrong amount and she was like, oh shoot. Oh, Tooth Fairy gave you that much? Oh wow. Oh, you know, yeah. So and even like some kids for was it Easter? They were getting gifts like toys.
Mhm.
And my kids, I said, you must be out your rabbit mind. No, that is not why we celebrate. And I said, we celebrate Resurrection Sunday.
Right.
I said, it ain't even Easter. It ain't about no bunny. So,
Mhm.
and then they look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, no, don't take.
But that goes back to the peer pressure from other parents. You know, you don't even think about it, but the kids bring you peer pressure from the other parents and what they do. It's like a constant battle that you go through with like it's not even just the wives and the other, it's the kids too. So it's a lot of pressure going on with just being a mom, just being a wife, just all of that. It's a big combination of a lot of pressure. And
Yes,
I
because
think we all deal with it on some aspect. Even if you rich, you still dealing with it because it's like other people who are richer. There's
mm-hmm.
it's always going to be a thing. And I think if we all just come together and kind of like give each other pointers on how we deal with it, it help a lot.
No,
It
it
would help
does.
a lot.
Just like wives want to look a certain way for their husbands.
Mm-hmm.
So you sometimes you're able to get different things, to snatch it up, tighten up, try to make yourself look good and look good for him. And then you have the one other wives that can't afford it. So then they
Right.
go, well, is he gonna, you know, he's looking at the women like he would like that to happen to me, but I can't get that. So does he not look at me the same?
Mm-hmm.
So then you try to do other things. So it's like that. Like you're like it's hard. I said, shoot, if I can run me to some money, I'll go get me. I said, give me a little tummy tuck, fix a little mommy pouch and do that. And my mother, you don't have to do that. I'm like, no, honey, you didn't do that. But I want to feel good in my body. That
Right.
when my husband has me, you know, if I want to put on a bathing suit or something like that, I don't have to feel like he's embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I feel like, do y'all feel embarrassed by us?
Mm-hmm. I'm
You
sure
know?
it's a give and take. Because there's going to be things. I was just thinking about the fact that you got to love this person through all of their different, what do you call it? Metamorphisms. Like, this is my husband at 25. He don't make noises when he get out the bed. He don't have to struggle to sit up. I ain't got to deal with his pants. I ain't got to deal with none of that. He's 25. So I'm just saying, we all gonna have to give and take. You gotta love a person above all of that aesthetics.
Yes. No,
And
it's true.
so that's the whole point. It's gonna always be something that you like better about them at another point in time. But you gotta love them at 50. You gotta love them at 60. You gotta love them at, it's so many different things you gotta face. So it's like, you gotta count your blessings because there's so many things.
No, you do, because he said, I see you as the same girl that when I first fell in love with you, and it's like, but I look different now.
Right.
The morning show
never tell you the 100%
yeah
truth about what they feel, because is it going to really matter? In the end of the day, can you afford to change everything about that person? And are you going to like them once they change it? That's the thing. Like, you could change all of this stuff about yourself and it'll change who you are, like, in your mind mentally, because you've gotten all of this stuff done. So
some people do that. Some people put on a different wig or get a weave and they didn't turn into a whole different persona. Or, they get their body super snatched and now they think that they're an Instagram model.
Right.
And you're like, I say, if you want to do anything, do it. Just don't touch your face.
You don't ever know it's going to change them until they change. So it's like, you don't know. It's a chance you take. And it's so much to think about. Marriage in itself is like, you gotta do a lot of guessing or basically have a lot of faith about what's gonna happen and who's gonna be in control of it, because you don't know nothing. From day to day. You really don't know.
No, you don't. You don't, because one day he can lose weight, one day he can be big, one day you can lose weight, one day you can be big. I mean, hey, but they still love you. That's what, I guess, what matters the most is just,
And control what you could control. Like, some things you can't.
Like the one time, was it one girl, her man told her, oh, I don't want you wearing makeup, this and that. And then the woman he was cheating on her with always wore makeup. And I'm like, make that make sense. You told her she don't need makeup, but the girl that you running around town with, face all made up, body all snatched up, but you telling your wife that's not fair to her. If she wants to make herself look better, let her do it. That's another thing. If your wife, as a wife, if you want to do something, if you want to wear makeup, if you want to get your body done and color your hair, cut your hair off to make you feel better, do it. Because at the end of the day, you live with yourself, whether he leaves or he dies. You got to be happy with yourself. So don't ever let anyone tell you you're doing too much of something if you're okay with yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You want to wear your hair blonde until you're 95, you wear your hair blonde. I wear my hair red until I'm 95, I wear my hair red. Shoot, my aunts and them was wearing makeup. They was old lady. They always had on makeup. So that's just who I am. And I'm not going to let that change for no one.
I think a lot of it goes back to who you marry, and you got to know how they were when you met them. It's only a degree of change that you're going to make in your lifetime from who you were when they met you. So it's like, okay, if he's like this, it's a chance he could go either this way or that way, but ain't too far off that he's going to veer, unless something drastic happens. So you just got to keep that in mind when you're making your choice in your partner. That's what it all boils down to. You got to pick right. That picking is very important.
Yes, it is important. When you're sitting to, ladies that are not married yet, or, no matter what age you are, you really sit down and you need to examine. Like, people say, oh, you were asking all these questions when y'all were first dating. I said, yes, I asked them their belief system.
You better.
Yeah, what they value in a woman. I watch how they treated the women in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I watched how they valued work. Watched them with children, because if not, you might fall into a rabbit hole,
Oh yeah.
and it'll be hard. It's hard to get up out of that, you know, 12-foot grave, trying to dig yourself out because you didn't know this person. You didn't ask enough questions. You just thought he looked good or he had a sexy body, but you didn't
Right.
realize that this man could never hold a job, or he treated his mother like dirt, and or the women around him. If his mother wasn't alive, the women that were around him that was supposed to be most important, that he was never taking time out for them or his family. So now you're like, what's going on? But the writing was all on the wall and on the
Yeah,
mirror.
9 times out of things, them little things you overlook is going to be what you end up having to repeat. So, and the same thing with them. I'm sure they say the same thing about us.
Yes,
But
not yeah, men. If some men out here listening, watch how she is with children. If you gonna marry her and you say you want to have a family,
mm-hmm.
and she's not that caring to children, you may not want, because everybody that can have children should not be a parent.
Right.
I'm just going to say it. It is like it is. Everybody that can have children should not be a parent.
And everybody
And
has different what do you call it? Like their parenting skills are different and they clash. They clash. Like
yes,
it seems like when you get married, you don't know, you don't that's something people never ask. Like, okay, so what's your opinion on sons versus daughters and who has the most free range and how you gonna treat your teenage son and how you gonna approach your daughter wearing certain type of things and it's just so many little things that come up as nuances when you marry that you don't ask because you're not thinking about that at 25.
mm-hmm. No, you're not. Well, see, I was trying to think ahead because I was trying to get married at 20.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be a young wife. I wanted to have my kids young, had to be young wives because I wanted to be by the age I am now. I looked at my parents,
Right.
but by the time they were in their late 30s, early 40s, the oldest was already out getting ready to get out the house. I was like, okay, if I have them boom, 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 then we can get done. And
Earlier.
and I could just now have this time where I still feel like I feel good and everything ain't hanging down. So go out and have fun. But you and I were later mothers. So
Mm-hmm.
hey, it happened.
I don't even think we were later, honestly. Like, I mean, it just seemed like we were later because a lot of people in our generation were having kids earlier.
Yeah.
But I don't really think, when I was looking at some articles, they said that in the European countries, they look at like 30s is the greatest time to start a family.
Wow.
And so
I mean, that's when you're supposed to
it's
have
all relative to where you are, the
yes.
culture,
That's when you're
all
supposed
of
to have your
that.
surprise baby. 30.
Yeah, I know. So I'm just saying, if I would have started in my 30s, it wouldn't have been a bad thing. My mom started at 38, which I think is very late. But in some cultures, that's not like, it's not too off because you got your life in order, you got your money set up, you got all of that stuff in order. And there's a lot of things I didn't go through because she had me late that I saw my friends going through because she had already had, you know, her
Yeah.
things under control as far as her finances and what she wanted to do. It was just already done. So
I can see that. I think
mhm. Yeah. So it's
we
always pluses and minuses to this thing. It's nothing that's like, I don't think anything is coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. I think we try to put everything into this little, all right, I'm gonna have this by this time. And it'll never work out like that. And if
no.
it does work out, 9 times out of 10, God will throw you a curveball in there just to get you back in order. Like, okay, you ain't control of this right here. Let me scratch the record up a little bit. So,
That's true. That is
so I
very
mean, you
true.
can only do but so much planning. You really
Yes.
can't.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and start easing out of this. Next
Okay.
time we're going to talk about. We said we want to talk about. What do you want to talk about the next episode? polyamory or
Yeah, we can talk about that. I guess get some views on for some people since we're talking about marriage to see how what they
right.
like. Cause
Different
I don't know how
forms
to.
of marriage, different types of marriages, and how it works versus what we got. We are in more of a traditional marriage
Marriage.
on our side, but there's all types of different situations nowadays, and we're just open to learn about it and hearing the
Yeah.
perspective and what the differences are and how it's working for you guys. So thanks for listening and watching. And please feel free to comment below and let us know anything that you would like to see in future episodes, as well as any questions that you may have for us. So thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.